We spend a lot of time researching stories for the daily brief. It's a whole process reading, analyzing, simplifying. But not everything we learn makes it to the final cut. Sometimes the most interesting bits get left out because of the format or the time crunch. One thing that always fascinates me though is what people say industry leaders, policymakers, experts, and more importantly, what they actually mean. Because let's face it, those two things aren't always the same. There's context, hidden meaning, and nuance in their words that often reveal much more than what's being said outright. By the way, I'm Krishna. A few days ago, I mentioned one such comment to Bhuvan, who's the brain behind this channel, and he suggested this could be a video series or a newsletter. And well, here we are. That's the backstory behind this video. The idea is simple. Pick an interesting statement, decode what it really means, and place it in the broader context of the industry, company, or economy it relates to. Now I have no clue if this is a great idea or a completely ridiculous one. That's where you come in. Please watch this and let me know what you think in the comments below. And one more thing. So please be kind to me. I have an extremely low self-esteem, so please don't comment bring back Anurag. So with that out of the way, I have 5 interesting things to share with you that people said this week. The first one, Vedanta's chairman Anil Agarwal recently tweeted that copper is the heart of global decarbonization. He's not wrong. His company just announced a $2 billion investment in Saudi Arabia to process copper. But why is copper suddenly such a big deal? Let's break it down. Think of copper as the metal that powers our modern world. It's the best material we have for carrying electricity, which makes it essential for everything we're building today. Electric cars, they need 3 times more copper than regular cars, about 80 kg per vehicle. Wind turbines, they use tons of copper, literally. A single offshore wind farm needs around 8,000 tons of copper per gigawatt. Solar panels can't work without copper wiring. Even the battery storing all this clean energy needs copper. Now here's the thing. We're going to need a lot more copper in the coming years. The International Energy Agency says demand could jump 50% by 2040 as countries push for clean energy. By then, we'll need about 40 million tons of copper annually. But getting more copper isn't simple. Opening a new copper mine takes about 17 years and existing mines are producing lower quality ore than before. What's more concerning is how concentrated copper production is. Chile and Peru together produce 40% of the world's copper. When it comes to refining, China dominates with nearly half of global capacity. This concentration makes copper supply chains vulnerable to disruptions. India is facing its own copper problems. The numbers tell the story. The country's copper ore production has fallen from 4.13 million tons in 2019 to 3.78 million tons in 2024. Meanwhile, imports have exploded. Copper concentrate imports have doubled to 26,000 crore rupees in just 5 years according to the Indian Express. The total import value of copper and copper products as a whole was almost 77,000 crores in 2024 compared to 37,000 crores in 2019. Things got particularly tough after 2018 when Vedanta's Sterlite plant in Tamil Nadu was shut down following environmental concerns and protests. The plant alone used to meet 40% of India's copper demands. Overnight, India went from being a net exporter to a net importer of copper. Now the next question that might pop into your head is, why aren't we finding more copper in India? Part of the problem is exploration. We're just not looking hard enough. Last year, the government approved only 2 copper exploration projects. And when it comes to auctioning copper mining blocks, we've only managed to auction 4 since 2016. While India has copper resources totaling 1.51 billion tons, most of it remains unexplored or unviable for mining. This helps explain why Vedanta is betting big on copper in Saudi Arabia. Their new facilities will make 4 lakh tons of copper each year. That's about a quarter of what India needs right now. The project includes a smelter to process copper ore, a refinery to purify it, and a plant to make copper rods for cables and wires. But why Saudi Arabia? The kingdom is trying to reduce its dependence on oil and sees minerals as a key part of its future. They're sitting on 1.3 trillion worth of untapped minerals. Plus, Saudi Arabia aims to generate 50% of its energy from renewables by 2030, which means they'll need lots of copper too. Here's why this matters. As the world shifts to clean energy, copper isn't just another metal. It's becoming as crucial as oil is today. India alone needs about 1500 kilotons of copper annually, and this number is set to grow as we build more solar farms and electric vehicle factories. Think of it this way: you can't build a green future without copper. That's why Anil Agarwal's tweet and Vedanta's big investment aren't just a business news. They are a sign of how critical copper has become in our race to fight climate change. For India, securing reliable copper supply isn't just about business anymore. It's about ensuring we can build the clean energy infrastructure we need for the future. Moving on to the next comment. A few days ago, Bhavesh Agarwal, the CEO of Ola Electric, tweeted that the company will open 3,200 new showrooms by December 20th. That means going from 800 stores to 4,000 within 19 days. Honestly, I don't know what to make of this. Ola Electric is the market leader in electric two-wheelers with about 25% market share, followed by TVS and Bajaj. But it has been plagued with complaints about poor services since day one. Just a couple of days ago, it received a follow-up reply from the Central Consumer Protection Authority in October. The CCPA had sent a notice to Ola after customers filed over 10,000 complaints. In response, Ola claimed that 99% of the complaints were resolved, and now it looks like that may not have been the case. The electric two-wheeler space in India is interesting. Thanks to the FAME incentives and the recent PM e-drive scheme, EV two-wheeler penetration has reached about 5%, and according to ICRA, it's expected to rise 6 to 8% by FY 2025. The competitive intensity has also increased with new launches from all the major players like Ola, Ather, and others. Ambit Research in September said that Ola's market share will decrease steadily due to new players entering the market and existing competitors expanding the reach and product offerings. It will be interesting to see how the EV two-wheeler battle takes shape. Now, I'm quite interested about the next comment. Ajoy Chawla, CEO of Titan's jewelry division, spoke to Business Line and said, "It's very difficult for consumers to identify the difference between natural and lab-grown diamonds, particularly when they're mounted on studded jewelry. Lab-grown diamonds are virtually indistinguishable from the natural ones, not just in appearance, but in their physical and chemical composition. Even experts need advanced tools to tell them apart." But this isn't just a story about technology or whether buyers are confused. It's about how lab-grown diamonds or LGDs are shaking up an industry built on two big ideas: rarity and exclusivity. Let's start with the basics. Lab-grown diamonds are exactly what they sound like. Diamonds created in a lab. Scientists replicate the extreme conditions under which diamonds form deep within the earth, and the result is a diamond that's chemically, physically, and optically identical to a natural one. The key difference? Price. A 1 carat natural diamond might set you back 3 to 4 lakh rupees, but a lab-grown version of the same size sells for around 50,000. That's not a small gap. It's a massive shift in how people think about owning a diamond. Affordability is just the beginning. Millennials and Gen Z are gravitating towards lab-grown diamonds not just because of the price, but because of what they represent. Unlike natural diamonds, which have long been linked to ethical and environmental issues, think blood diamonds, and mining controversies, lab-grown diamonds are marketed as conflict-free and sustainable, and that resonates with younger, socially conscious consumers. But there's another angle, especially in India. Less than 5% of Indian women have ever owned a diamond, and the cost is a big reason why. Lab-grown diamonds are changing that by making it easier for first-time buyers to afford one and for existing customers to upgrade to larger, more elegant pieces. It's not just about being cheaper, it's about making diamonds accessible in a way natural ones could never. Meanwhile, the natural diamond industry is under serious pressure. Global demand for diamond jewelry is slipping. In the US, the world's largest diamond market, sales have dropped over 10% in 2024. In China, another key market, demand has plummeted by a staggering 50%. Even De Beers, the industry giant synonymous with the phrase "a diamond forever," has been forced to cut through diamond prices by over 10%, a clear sign of trouble. India, which processes about 90% of world's diamonds, is feeling the heat. Surat, the hub of diamond cutting and polishing, has seen polished demand exports fall by 25% in FY24. Factories are shutting down and thousands of workers are losing their jobs as orders dry up. Surat's struggles show how deeply the decline in natural diamond demand is rippling through the supply chain. On the flip side, lab grown diamonds are thriving. In the US, LGDs now account for 50% of loose diamond sales, a big milestone considering loose diamonds dominate bridal jewelry, a segment natural diamonds once ruled. This shift speaks to a broader trend. Consumers are prioritizing value and quality over tradition, forcing the entire industry to adapt. In India, the lab grown diamond market is growing at a rapid pace of 15 to 20% annually. Companies like Green Lab Diamonds and Limelight are leading the charge. And Trent, part of the Tata Group, recently launched its own lab grown diamond jewelry brand, POM. Several analysts think Trent could play a key role in driving widespread adoption of lab grown diamonds in India. Even Gautam Adani weighed in on the disruption. At a recent event, he called lab grown diamonds a market disruptor and pointed out their official recognition as real diamonds by the US Federal Trade Commission. But Adani didn't shy away from addressing the challenges, noting that India's jewelry exports are in decline. He made it clear the industry needs to adapt and fast to stay competitive. Lab grown diamonds aren't just a cheaper alternative, they are redefining what it means to own a diamond. For India, this is both a challenge and an opportunity. Surat and the natural diamond trade are under pressure, but lab grown diamonds offer a way forward. They could open up new markets, drive innovation, and ensure India retains its place in the global jewelry industry. So, if you were to buy a diamond today, would you pick a natural diamond or a lab grown one? If you follow the markets even remotely, you might have heard about the whole Mapmy India saga. Here's how the Mapmy India story played out. On December 1, Mapmy India announced that its CEO, Rohan Verma, who is son of the company's founders, would start a new consumer-focused company. The plan was pretty straightforward. Mapmy India would get a 10% stake for just 10 lakh rupees and put in another 35 crore rupees as convertible debentures. Rohan would own the other 90%. The new company would get to use Mapmy India's brand, Mapples, without paying any royalty fees and would take over all the consumer-facing businesses like Mapples Mall, Travel and Gadgets. Rohan would step down as CEO but stay on Mapmy India's board as a non-executive director from April 2025. This didn't go down well with the shareholders at all. The stock took a hit and dropped below its listing price as investors started asking tough questions. Why wasn't this consumer business being kept within Mapmy India itself? Why was the listed company getting such a small stake? Why no royalty payments for using the brand? Making matters worse, people found out that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Earlier in 2024, Mapmy India had set up another private company called Clarity X with the founder's daughter, Rakhi Prasad. Facing all this criticism, Rohan quickly changed his tune. Just 2 days later, on December 3, he went on TV and said he wouldn't take the 35 crore from Mapmy India after all. He'd use his own money instead. But he'll still keep the basic structure where Mapmy India would get only 10% for 10 lakh rupees. Market experts weren't impressed. Deepak Shenoy, CEO of Capital Mind, suggested that they should have split off the consumer business properly through a demerger so all current shareholders could get a fair piece. Nikhil Pava from Medianama pointed out a concerning pattern of companies' assets being moved to private entities owned by the founder's family. The whole episode has become a big talking point in India's corporate governance discussions. While Rohan's decision to not take the 35 crore rupees has helped calm down things a bit, people are still questioning whether this deal is fair to small shareholders. It's raised bigger questions about how listed companies should handle these kinds of family arrangements and whether current rules are enough to protect minority shareholders' interest. In the end, it's a classic case of trying to balance a family's ambitions with their responsibilities to public shareholders. Now, we come to the final comment, and it's about a sector that seems to be taking everyone's job. I'm of course talking about AI. OpenAI just announced it's doing something they're calling ship mass. Basically, they're planning to release new AI products and features every day for 12 days straight, starting December 5. But this announcement comes at an interesting time in the AI world. The first launch it made was the full version of its advanced reasoning model O1, which had previously been available only in preview phase. This model is designed to handle complex reasoning tasks more efficiently. The O1 model is capable of processing both text and images and has been optimized for faster and more accurate responses. It reportedly makes major mistakes 34% less often and processes responses 50% faster compared to its previous version. OpenAI also launched a premium subscription tier called ChatGPT Pro priced at $200 per month. This tier includes unlimited access to the O1 model, a special O1 Pro model with enhanced computational power for solving complex problems, access to GPT-4o, and advanced voice mode. If you listen to the AI leaders, the future sounds almost like a science fiction. The head of Anthropic, Dario, recently claimed that AI will soon help us cure most cancers, live to 150 years old, and make poor countries rich almost overnight. Some even think AI will run our banks and economics better than humans can. But behind all these big promises, there's a problem. The tech might be hitting some walls. According to recent reports, OpenAI's newest AI model, they're calling it Orion, isn't as big as a leap forward as they had hoped. Yes, it's better than what they have now, but not by nearly as much as their previous upgrades. And it's not just about OpenAI. Google's having trouble with their new AI called Gemini. Even one of OpenAI's founders, Ilya, recently admitted that their old strategy, basically making AI systems bigger and feeding them more data, isn't working as well anymore. Dario spoke to Financial Times recently, and here's what he said about scaling bottlenecks. If we go back to history, the scaling laws don't say that any time you train a larger model, it does better. The scaling laws say that if you scale up models with the model size in proportion to the data, if all the engineering processes work well in training the models, if the quality of the data remains constant as you scale it up, then the models will continue to get better and better. It's an observed phenomenon, and nothing I've seen gives any evidence whatsoever against this phenomena. We've seen nothing to refute the pattern that we have seen over the last few years. The companies aren't giving up though. They're trying new tricks like giving their AI more time to think before answering questions. OpenAI's latest experiment showed that sometimes just letting an AI system spend 20 seconds working on a problem can make it perform as well as much larger, more expensive systems. But here's the truth. Nobody really knows what happens next. When OpenAI's boss Sam Altman tweets saying there is no wall, is he hinting that they have found some new amazing solution? Or is he just trying to keep people excited? We'll probably start getting some answers during OpenAI's 12 days of announcements. For now though, we're watching an industry that's learning something most of us already know. Progress usually isn't a straight line up. Sometimes you hit bumps in the road and you have to find new ways forward. So this is the end of the episode. Thanks for bearing with me so far.